Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience in the South and us tuning in online around the world through our friends at iHeartRadio. We're glad you all could be with us as well. We talk to you guys all the time about the importance of not only discovering what you want to do, but also taking the steps to make it a reality. And our next guest has definitely been able to do that. We're excited to welcome Herb Jackson Jr. to our program today. We're going to talk to Herb not only about his journey as an actor and producer, but also he's the host of his own show called 5 Minutes with Herb. We'll tell you guys about that, how you can stay connected with him, and, of course, how you guys can catch the show as well. Herb, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Cyrus, thanks so much for having me today.
The pleasure is definitely all mine. We're going to get into 5 Minutes with Herb a little bit later. I want to begin, though, with where we are now in 2020, Herb. I mean, here you are, as I said, being able to carve out your place, doing what you love in front of the camera as well as behind. What has it been like for you, Herb, to be able to decide that you wanted to do something like acting and producing and then to go out there and do it?
Well, it's been a huge learning curve to start with. And, they say, adversity brings opportunity. So the whole thing started basically, I'm taking acting lessons, booked a commercial here, there, and, things are semi-good. And then, 2020 hits and pretty much, the acting studio I was working with, taking lessons, they kind of, due to the pandemic, lost business and couldn't continue. My old agency, same thing. So I just saw stuff was just, falling down left and right. So I kind of had a choice. Either I just kind of sat there and fell with them or went out and did something on my own.
And I think that's such a big thing in itself, though, Herb, because it's not the easiest of things, especially when you're dealing with a worldwide pandemic. What was it that made you, though, have the courage to do it? We talk a lot on this program about faith over fear. So what helped you in that regard to be able to have the faith that your fear wasn't going to stop you?
A couple things. As I started the whole, acting, process, you network and work with people. And one of the classes I had was with, it was a red carpet hosting class that I had, back in Burbank about a year and a half ago. So, you network with the folks, and that turned into an opportunity for me to host a couple segments on Pop Fusion, which was great. I was very happy to do it. It helps expand your skill set and your resume, and it was great. However, once again, like with the pandemic, they kind of, we're slowing down too. And so I kept calling and saying, hey, do you have any more work for me? I'm really, I'm ready. I'm here. I have nothing else going on. And one day, Francesca just said, hey, why don't you create your own show? And it hit me like, what? Me create my own show? And she's like, yeah, Herb, you have the basic skill set. You passed the training. You do really well for us. So why not go out and create your own show? So that's how it kind of started. I was actually kind of shocked, but the fact that they had belief that I could actually do it helped.
Yeah. And I think to have someone else believe in you definitely is a big deal. Herb, so I want to talk to you about a couple of things, because I think what you're just sharing, this story, and I'm so excited about this, what you're doing with 5 Minutes with Herb. I'm going to let our audience know how they can be able to subscribe to you on YouTube. I think, for anybody out there, this is in many ways the perfect time. Because for one, there is this white space, right, of, even though it's like with broadcasts like mine, I know I'm not the only person doing a radio broadcast like this. Is that kind of how you approach 5 Minutes with Herb, that you could bring your own personality and your own insight to your own platform?
Yeah, as I learned more about the industry, a lot of advice I've been given by, people who have quote unquote made it, or, you've seen on television shows or whatever, was be yourself. I didn't quite understand that, be myself. What does that mean? Because when I first started, you watch television and we all want to be Denzel or, whoever on television, and that's what attracts us to the shows and movies and stuff. But when you get into the business, they were saying be yourself. And it really was kind of strange at first. I just couldn't quite understand it. But when you think about it, Denzel was Denzel before he was Denzel, if that makes any sort of sense. Meaning you have to be true to yourself, and one day people are going to know who you are if you stay true to yourself. There are, like you mentioned, there's a lot of competition out there, and in the entertainment industry, the competition it's intense. It is unbelievable. There's so many people out there. However, having said that, I also feel there are just as many ways for you to get into that, as long as you stay true to yourself. Think about any television show. It started off as an idea, and eventually it worked out. There's some do work, some don't. So for myself, it was like, well, how can I do this? So 5 Minutes with Herb, the actual name came from the fact that I was like, well, anyone can have a conversation for 5 minutes. And folks, if I said, hey, Cyrus, what's going on? I texted you and said, hey, are you busy next week? I just need 5 minutes of your time. It's kind of like a phrase that we use, right? Now, when you and I get on the telephone, it's not necessarily going to be an exact 5-minute phone call, but that's the phrase that we use. So we could talk for 6, 7, 8, 20 minutes. Who knows? But it's just a phrase, hey, 5 minutes. So I kind of was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and title it that way. And that's how I kind of started with it.
Got you. I like it. And I love the way that you talked about that phrase, right? That is something that people say all the time, and a lot of times it ends up going longer than 5 minutes, right? When you get in a great conversation with someone, but at least having that time there, definitely let people know that you appreciate it. I want to get more into that with you, Herb. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, though, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome Herb Jackson Jr. to our program today. Herb is the host of the program. We're just talking about 5 Minutes with Herb, but he's also an actor as well. So, what I love about, and I think a lot of times creatives, we don't think about all the aspects that we do, all of the slashes we do, because you're not only the host, you're the producer. You are, making the decisions. I mean, do you kind of have those wow moments still, Herb, when you think about, I think now when I was prepping for the segment, I think you're 14 episodes in, I think at this point, that are up on YouTube, that you have been able to not only to host this show, but produce this show now that is gaining traction?
Oh, my God, yes. We just recorded episode 15 the other day, which will be out next week. And as I had mentioned earlier, the learning curve, this whole thing is a complete learning curve. And I was on a show a while ago, and they were asking about motivation and stuff like that, what, motivates me and how do I accomplish these things. I'm an airline pilot in my other life. So I say you almost have to have an unhealthy belief in yourself and an unhealthy desire to get it done. As you mentioned, I don't have a staff to write the show. I don't have, folks to hold the cameras and, all that stuff. And so you end up doing the whole process. It literally, I'm thinking about it pretty much 24 hours a day. Even for a show that's only, 6 or 8, sometimes maybe 10 minutes long, because I'm the one that has to do it all. And I find that challenging, and I actually love it. It really gets the juices going. It's like your own hustle. It's you. I'm putting myself out there, and I want to show to the world what I'm capable of. My job, I feel, with my guests is to put them in the best light possible and, get the word out there and help them. I look at myself as serving them. My job is to help my guests and get them visibility. But yeah, the whole process between, audio and I mean, my first episode is, what happens to a lot of people. It wasn't the technically successful as I liked, as I wanted it to be. But you learn. You look at why did I have audio problems? Why was that going on? What was going on? So you look and you tweak stuff. And every episode I've been able to do that. up until the point, episode 14 just came out. God, what's today? Friday? Oh, Wednesday. I'm sorry, I'm losing track of days. And to me, in my humble opinion, episode 14 it's the culmination of all my work this year so far. I think that is the cleanest. The interview flows. The guest and I had great on-camera, presence, and we went back and forth, and I just felt like that was the best. And it literally, I was actually, pretty happy once I finished that one, because it's like, oh my God, all the things I've been working on finally came through in that episode 14.
Wow. What a great thing. We know there's going to be many more to come. So it's interesting to think about what can happen, right? I mean, and this is what I want people to think, too, and I'm curious to see if you've had this conversation with people. Herb, I don't think people understand these days the value of real estate, like I notice you use Instagram a lot, or YouTube, and what's coming out of there. And a great example of that just literally happened yesterday. I had interviewed on this program last year the creator and star of a show that was exclusively on YouTube called Giants. You may have heard of it. It appeared on Issa Rae's YouTube channel. It was only on YouTube. Now, fast forward to 2020, that YouTube show has not only won Daytime Emmys this year, but yesterday they announced they are now part of the BET Plus family. They're being picked up by BET Plus. So
wow.
I tell people, don't despise the small beginnings, because some people were saying, oh, it's only a show on YouTube. But now that show that was only on YouTube is an Emmy winner and now picked up by BET Plus. And then you think about, even these short films, right? I mean, that began on YouTube, and where they have been able to go on and do great things. So I say that to say, is that kind of how you've been able to talk to people about 5 Minutes with Herb, that you never know where this is going to go? Like you said, you believe that this episode really, kind of is a culmination. Is that kind of what you tell people, that, hey, you just never know where that big thing is going to come from?
Oh, yeah. I have heard this. I can't remember who uttered it, but they're a very successful person, and they said, when I was a kid and I dreamed, I realized I didn't dream big enough. So for me, yes, there is absolutely positively no limits on what could potentially happen. And when I was mentioning before about having the unhealthy drive and desire and belief, that's kind of where I'm at. There's going to be people that are, hey, oh, that's great. They pat you on the head like a little kid, or they're going to kind of laugh or whatever. You just have to ignore those folks and stay true to yourself and push through. And you never know. I mean, I hate to go back to it, like I said, Denzel was Denzel before he was Denzel. There is no limit to what potentially the show could become. My father told me many, many years ago when I was pursuing something else, he says, the only way you won't make it is if you quit. A couple of my biggest, supporters with the 5 Minutes with Herb told me the same thing. Just keep doing it. Keep going. Do not quit. And like I say, seeing the progress up to episode 14, it's not, I'm not going to say this. First of all, it's not easy. When I say I think about it 24/7, there are a lot of times those thoughts are not good thoughts. I'm not happy with the way I'm presenting myself, or the way the screen is, or the background, or the sound, or how the interview flowed. So I'm like my biggest critic. And that's why, once again, I say about having an unhealthy desire. I'm always looking to improve on every aspect, which I guess can drive you crazy. But at the same time, I think that's what it takes to lead you to success. So, yeah, the goal is, for me, is with 5 Minutes with Herb, is just to put my best effort out every week and lay the chips, let them fall where they may. If someone, I work hard on the marketing side of it and getting it out there, and no, I haven't gone viral yet, but you wake up that one day and maybe one of your videos goes viral, or Fox Soul says, hey, we love you, come on our show or whatever. You never know. But to me, it's just the processes. I got to just keep working on the processes and keep grinding, and eventually something will come of it.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's not a matter. I tell people all the time, Herb, it's not a matter of if, it's just when. I think it's just sticking with it, and that's what I think so many people don't do, and that's why I commend you on what you're doing with 5 Minutes with Herb, because it really does show people you never know, right? You never would have had that feeling about number 14 if you hadn't continued to number 14. I mean, it's
exactly.
So it's like, yes.
After number 2, I never would have materialized that.
Exactly. So it's a great thing for us to remember. Again, everyone, Herb Jackson Jr. has been our guest. Again, he's an actor, producer, and the host of 5 Minutes with Herb. So, Herb, we have to let our audience know, I mentioned it earlier, but how can they stay connected with you, but also how can they be able to watch the show?
Okay, to stay connected with me, primarily I'm an Instagram guy. So on Instagram, my personal page is at Herb Jackson Jr. That's the same I have on Twitter, also at Herb Jackson Jr. The show 5 Minutes with Herb has its own show page at 5 Minutes with Herb, and then I publish it and release it on YouTube. So my YouTube channel is also Herb Jackson Jr. But there's a playlist that's 5 Minutes with Herb, and if you just go to YouTube and search 5 Minutes with Herb, it's all going to come up and it'll all be right there.
Okay. So make sure you guys are definitely looking forward to get on YouTube. I've already subscribed. Make sure you guys do as well. And we also, for our audience joining us through iHeartRadio, we'll make sure that we link that up for you guys to make it easy with this podcast. So make sure you guys are following Herb not only on Instagram but also on YouTube as well to catch up with the new episodes. Herb, congratulations to you, man. Really glad to be able to speak with you about the program and your success, and looking forward to having you back on the program again.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored, and, I appreciate you having me on. It's been a blessing, and I'm just going to keep working hard and try and make you and everyone else proud. I appreciate you.
Hey, more than welcome. I know you will do just that, Herb. And we thank you, our audience, for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today. Let's make today amazing. Take care.